1460 WVOX.
Now, live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX, the Greenburgh Report, with Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner. You can join in the conversation at 914-636-0110. Now on 1460 WVOX, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Catholic, right? Yeah.
They've come to.
I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and we have a really interesting program today. My guest is Shelly Ulaj Presser, and she's the founder and owner of a business based in Greenburgh, Albana, Books and Toys. And Shelly has a very interesting story. Maybe you could just tell us a little bit, in your words, about your life.
Sure. Thank you, Paul. I was born and raised in New York, first generation Albanian American. My parents came to this country about 1974, I believe. We started out in the Bronx, and then we moved to Yonkers when I was about 8 years old. I started school not knowing a word of English, so Albanian was the primary language spoken in our home. So I, grew up Catholic, and then stayed in New York till about 1998. I moved to Los Angeles, and I stayed there for 20 plus years. Loved it. I still miss it to this day. But when my daughter Stella was born in 2017, my husband and I kind of reevaluated our future, and we really wanted her to be closer to the Albanian community. We are Albanian and Jewish. We are raising now we have two daughters, Stella and Zana, and we're raising them both in an Albanian and Jewish home. And it was really important to us to have her, have Stella as well as Zana, of course, learn the language, be, involved in the community, learn, be raised with, the traditions of Albanian traditions, Jewish values, whatnot. So we decided to move to New York in 2019, and we've been here since. We are residents of Hartsdale. We love Westchester. It feels like I'm back in time, but things have definitely developed since I've left in 1998. And so I started my business back in 2020. It's actually going to be my 3-year anniversary with Albana Books and Toys coming up in about 2 weeks. And it's been a really fun, exciting entrepreneurial journey. That's
do you have like a office, a storefront, or is it out of your home?
It's out of my home, and we primarily sell via our website. And I do some events where I will be a vendor, at certain Albanian events in the community. But the majority is on my website.
That is great. What type of products do you sell?
So I write and publish Albanian/English children's books. And I also create plush dolls that are dressed in traditional Albanian garb. The audience obviously can't see, but I brought our two bestsellers, and these are the two dolls that I started out with, the product line Alban and Albana. And so that's what we sell. Our goal is really to inspire families to connect to their Albanian roots, primarily their children, through our books and our dolls.
That is great. There's a very large Albanian community. We have a church in Greenburgh, Lady of Shroda.
Yep.
Do most of the people who purchase the books, are they Albanians, or do you get people from all over, even non-Albanians buying your books.
Yeah,
and toys.
absolutely. I would say obviously the majority are Albanians, but one of my greatest joys is when I do see a non-Albanian purchase, and I do have quite a few non-Albanian customers. Whether it's their curiosity or they want to diversify their children's playrooms. I feel like nowadays diversity is such a big deal, which is great. And, or there's a lot of mixed families too. Some of the wives or husbands, one of them may not be Albanian, so they want to make sure that they're raising their children with whatever culture or values they are bringing them up.
That is so interesting. Before I forget, could you give us your website in case people want to see the work you do?
Yeah, it's www.albanabooksandtoys.com.
It's ALBANA, .com. You mentioned that your parents, when they came to the United States when you were small, only spoke Albanian. So how long did it take you to learn English?
I started kindergarten not knowing a word, and I remember my kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Cooper Smith. She definitely left a lasting impact in my life, but I struggled. I would say I struggled with the English language for about, maybe a year or two of my life starting school. I didn't really understand much of it because my parents spoke only Albanian in the home until my older brothers, were also in school and they would come home speaking English. And I think I just kind of caught on from speaking with them and watching television and whatnot. But I definitely remember it being challenging the first couple of years of school.
Oh, I could imagine.
Yeah.
Were there other Albanian children in your classes?
A few. I do remember being in second grade, and there was an Albanian girl who joined the class, and I think she and her family had just moved to the country, and I was the only other Albanian child in the class. And I remember one of my teachers designating me as like the translator, so I had that capability by then to then, help her along her language journey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your parents take up the English language also?
They understand it, they speak it, but they definitely, you're well aware how large the Albanian community here is, and they own so many businesses in Westchester, in the Bronx, in the city, wherever it may be. So I feel like there was never really a need for them to learn the language to the extent that I needed to learn the language.
Right.
Their goal was to provide for their family, so they were working. But for me, it was, I was just starting life. I had to go through school, and but they definitely know the language, they speak the language, but not to the extent of, let's say, I do.
Great. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and we'll be back right after this break with Shelly Ulaj Presser, founder and owner of Albana Books and Toys. And the website is www.albanabooksandtoys.com. ALBANABOOKSANDTOYS.com. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes. I'm Paul Feiner.
1460 WVOX.
Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Check that out.
It was really like, sorry. Hi, I'm Paul Feiner, and we're back with Shelly Ulaj Presser. And Shelly is the founder and owner of Albana Books and Toys, LLC. And I find your story is so interesting and fascinating. And just wanted to know why you decided to open up a book that focuses on a store that focuses on your heritage. You're not you weren't born in Albania. You basically grew up. Your parents did, but why do you feel a need to focus on your heritage?
I've always been connected to my heritage, and love my community. But when my daughter Stella was born, and because we are raising her in a somewhat mixed family where, my husband is American, Jewish, I'm Albanian, I wanted to make sure, that she was always going to be connected to her Albanian roots. We got the Jewish part down. We do our Shabbat, she lights candles, we observe the holidays, whatnot. But having lived in LA, there isn't much of an Albanian community out there. So when we came to New York, and we arrived here in 2019, as you know, the following year, the pandemic hit. And I was working as a legal recruiter. And in March of 2020, I was let go because, due to the pandemic. And I found myself having a lot of time on my hands, even though I was raising Stella, we were home all the time. And I was looking for books that were in Albanian as well as English, toys, whatever it could be, to just help promote. I know she's, the books aren't meant to necessarily teach the language, because you really can't learn the language unless you're speaking regularly with your children. But it's just to expose, to learn a word or two here or there. Her grandparents to be able to read to her. But that was really my motivating factor was Stella. And then I, had all this time on my hands. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I ran my own nonprofit back in LA, 12 plus years ago. And I've...
what type of not-for-profit?
It was a women's organization, women empowerment, and mentorship. And so in August of 2020, I came up with the idea of writing my first book called Unyam, which translates to I am. And it's a book filled of I am statements to... I am confident, I am brave, I am beautiful, I am unique. To help children instill confidence and learn the language as well. And I came up with the idea with the dolls because as I was looking for these products online, I didn't find anything. And so my entrepreneurial spirit kicked in, and I said, well, if I can't find this in the market, I'm going to create it for myself. If I'm looking for these things, I'm sure there are other parents looking for these things. And the response was overwhelming when I launched in January 2021. I sold out, twice.
And where do you get the toys?
So I designed them myself. I have an illustrator work with me where she creates the design, the illustrations. And then I send them off to my supplier who's in China. They're manufactured in China.
But because they're beautiful.
And they are. You would be surprised the products that you can get in China. You have very low quality, and then you can really get really high quality products. It just depends on how much you're willing to spend, I guess.
So how long did it take you to design these?
I would say the whole process with design and edits and coming up with the prototype, I would say it took about 3 to 4 months, just that design process.
And you keep changing, and creating new toys?
I'm creating new products. I'm always thinking of new products. Right now we're working on a coloring book. That's coming along very nicely. And I'm also going to redesign one of our products that sold out. It's called the Chifteli, and it's a Albanian instrument. It's similar to a guitar, I don't want to spill any secrets, but I'm going to add something really special to that.
In terms of, because I didn't realize when you showed me the dolls how beautiful that it was you who designed it. They're really like spectacular.
Yeah, I love them.
How do you, besides just promoting it on a website, how do you spread the word? Do you like go to like various churches and locals heritage festivals?
Yeah, so I've been involved in the carnival that the church, the Albanian church, puts on every October, but and a few other events. I had some of my products in some of the Albanian markets here in Westchester. But to be quite honest with you, I would say about 85 to 90% of my customers come through social media. My Instagram page is really the primary source of where my customers come from all over the world. I've had customers from all over Europe, Australia, Canada, Dubai, surprisingly, Iceland. I mean, Albanians are everywhere.
Well, it's also the quality of your work.
Yeah.
Because
thank you.
It's not like second rate. It's really, I could see that if people say, if you have, say, a store, say in Greenburgh, a storefront, I could see it being really.
I would. I mean, one of my goals is to get, as we spoke earlier about diversity, one of my goals is to get these products in a large retailer, like a Target or something, would be like my ultimate goal. Or even a smaller storefront would be great too.
Have you tried?
Not yet. I do plan. I had a baby about a year ago. She just turned 1 last week. So this whole year has been just a whirlwind for me.
Well, we could. I'm very pleased. I'm promoting. We're doing a diaper dish on the Sunday of Labor Day weekend.
Oh, nice.
And you have to be 2 and under.
Okay.
And it's going to be at Anthony Veteran Park. I think 10:30. So if she wants to be a champion, she could enter the diaper dish.
That sounds great.
It's going to be really. It's really going to be cute. In terms of, have you thought about opening up like a storefront? Because it seems to me that if you're so successful with online and the quality is so good, wouldn't a storefront be more successful?
Yeah, for sure, absolutely.
But I guess when you have a child, a small child, it's hard to work in an office.
Yeah, no, I definitely have thought about it. If I were to do a brick and mortar, I would probably incorporate, some other activities like an Albanian children's music class. I've thought about that. I have all these ideas. It's just a matter of having the time to execute them. But eventually, hopefully.
Did you study in college?
No, my background, I graduated in college with a BA in philosophy.
What college?
California State University, Fullerton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I went to law school only because I didn't know what to do with a philosophy degree. So the next logical step was to go to law school.
Well, law school?
University of Laverne.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. But didn't have a burning desire to be a lawyer. So I worked in the legal field. I worked as a legal recruiter, paralegal, whatnot. But this company has really brought me joy, and I just I can't see myself going back to a 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
Well,
the same thing. I graduated law school, but I hated it.
Yeah.
And I forgot what a plaintiff is. So if I ever get defeated, nobody should hire me as a lawyer.
See, I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. And I feel like, I don't know if you remember, but I remember orientation first year, they told you, when you're done with your first year, the way you think, you're just, everything changes. And it's so true. At least for me, I always see a potential liability. And it definitely comes in handy with having my own business as well, to have that legal knowledge.
Right. Mm-hmm. In politics, if I was so careful, I would never get anything accomplished.
Yeah.
I always like coming up with ideas, but I'm not a very detail oriented.
Right.
But I come up with a million ideas. But and a lot of people, most people in my field are much more.
Yeah.
It takes too long. My wife works in the Medicaid fraud unit in the Attorney General's office, but she's like totally opposite. She's like so detail oriented and takes her like 3 weeks to do what I could do in 10 minutes.
Right.
But I'm really interesting. One of the questions I have is, we have the Lady of Shorter Church, an Albanian church in Hartsdale, and I know the Albanian community is very close knit, and I'm wondering what they think of somebody converting to the Jewish faith. Because
I would love to know. I mean, I actually grew up going to that church.
Right.
I had my first communion in that church, confirmation in that church. I was married once before to an Albanian man. I got married in that church when it was in the Bronx. I would love to know. I mean, I haven't really encountered any negativity. I feel like, as we were speaking earlier, Albania was the only country in Europe to rescue Jews during the Holocaust, which is so amazing. Makes me so proud to know that. And so I feel like Albanians and Jews have always had that connection because of that. But I haven't encountered any issues. My family, they're very supportive and loving towards my husband and my children, and very respectful. If there's a Jewish holiday, they will acknowledge it, and we all, if Christmas comes around, we're there for Christmas Eve. So it's really nice to just everyone gets along.
That is really that is great. So we have to take another short break. My guest is Shelly Ulaj Presser, a founder and owner of Albana Books and Toys, and their website is www.albanabooksantoys.com, albanabooksandtoys.com, and the dolls she created are just magnificent. So if you want to look it up, you should order the dolls before they get sold out.
Again.
I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor.
WVOX. Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Short break. I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and my guest is Shelly Ulaj Presser, founder and owner of Albana Books and Toys, LLC. And we were talking about your books and your toys. Are the books or toys, which is more popular?
That's a hard question. I feel like I would say the dolls. I would say the dolls are definitely a tad bit more popular, but the books sell pretty well too. With my first book, Unyam, I Am, also sold out, and so that's always a good sign. But yeah, I would probably say the dolls probably sell a little bit better.
How often do you sort of come up with new dolls? Because I'm just like really stunned.
These are just the top two that sell. I have a few others. I have a plush Albanian eagle, which sells pretty well. I have the chifteli, which is the Albanian instrument that I mentioned, that I'm redoing. And then I have about 4 other dolls that are a little bit smaller in size. And, they come from different, their traditional costume, they're from different regions of Albania or Kosovo or wherever, or Montenegro as well. And but these two, Albana and Albana, are like the popular ones.
And how much do they sell for?
These two, because they're a little bit bigger, sell for $19.99, and then the other dolls that are slightly smaller sell for $14.99. The Albanian eagle sells for $21.99. And then the chifteli, I'm redoing, but it was selling at $13.99. So it's very reasonable prices.
Did you, when you were growing up, like learn the trade how to create doll?
No, no. No, this was a lot of research, a lot of trial and error. I feel like as an entrepreneur, for me at least, I just kind of dove in. I learned as I go. I'm still learning as I go. I feel like there's always improvements to be made. But no, I definitely don't have any background in this whatsoever.
What are some of the, if you were recommending meeting, like say with students or whatever, or, what are some of the lessons you learned or some of the mistakes you made starting your own business?
I would say don't take everything on for yourself. Like if you know you're not good at something, delegate. Find someone who can do it for you. Get a bookkeeper. Keep your financials straight and in order. That's definitely helpful. I have a great bookkeeper, and I don't have to worry about, doing my profit and loss sheets and whatever. That's like a whole other language that I don't comprehend. So he handles all that. But I would say just and find your community. Back in LA, there's a large networking community, entrepreneurial community, and I'm starting to find that here in Westchester as well. And so going to networking events, going to workshops, even if it's online, on Zoom, whatever it is, get connected and because you can always bounce off ideas, just have that support, that like-mindedness.
It seems easier said than done, though, right?
Yeah, no, it's definitely time-consuming. I know before I had children, I had all the time in the world. I would, when I was living in LA, I would go to like 2 or 3 networking events a week. And now it's like going to a networking event is probably going to happen like once every 6 months if I have the time. So yeah, it's definitely a process.
In terms of, do you have family in Montenegro, and do you visit them?
I have a lot of family in Montenegro. I have a few aunts and uncles, cousins. I haven't been since my grandfather passed away. I went like a year before he passed, I believe in 2009. And I do want to go. We are planning, my husband and I want to go to Albania next year, hopefully. But yeah, I grew up going to Montenegro every summer as a kid. And those are like my favorite childhood memories.
It's a beautiful country.
It really is. It really is. And it's getting discovered more and more. The tourism there is skyrocketing, which is great, but at the same time kind of makes me sad.
Why does it make you sad?
It was like a hidden gem, It was like our little secret, and I love that it's being exposed and visited, and that's going to bring much needed funds to the country and the infrastructure, and it's all great. But once it's like Croatia. Croatia is now like the hot spot, and if you look at pictures, thousands of people there every summer, and which is great. But at the same time, it's like, I hope it doesn't become I hope it doesn't lose its authenticity.
Yeah, I remember going to Montenegro with my wife. We were on a cruise, but we were there for like 6 hours or whatever.
Right.
But again, there was so many tourists there.
Yeah.
And you're right. It really
tends
changes.
to become like commercialized. You know what I mean? It loses its uniqueness.
You're 1,000%. So the next time you go back, I guess you could show them your work. Do you think that the work that you do, would they consider it like pretty authentic, or do you think there's sort of like an American version of the doll?
This is as authentic as it gets. This is the Albana doll, the girl doll. She's wearing what's called a jublet. And this is a very traditional, very well-known costume that I actually wore myself when I was married. And I try to be as authentic as possible. Having been raised in the community, worn this myself, looking at photos, I try to design it as as authentic as possible. And that's one of the responses I get oftentimes from my customers is they are actually really amazed as how authentic they are.
Do do you find that most of the Albanian community, say in Westchester, do they have the same sense of pride as you do? Is this
Yeah.
something that even children of Albanian immigrants
No.
maintain their pride?
Absolutely. There's the Albanian community, they're very full of pride. They are proud to be Albanian. If you drive around, you'll see cars with the Albanian eagle stickers. There's, you go to a grocery store, you hear Albanian being spoken. Every June, there's a huge picnic at Kensico Dam, brought on by the church. There's a lot of, events throughout the year, especially in November. It's Albanian Independence Day. And so last year, actually, during that time, White Plains Road by Eastchester, the streets were filled with Albanian flags. And when I saw that, I got to be honest, it brought me to tears. It was beautiful. And so, yeah, there's a lot of pride, I would say, in the community.
And like you were saying before, during the Holocaust, when most of Europe basically didn't stand with the Jewish community, the Albanians took a risk and helped save many lives.
Yeah. So there's this code of honor in the Albanian community called Besa, and it's basically you treat your neighbor or your guest as a family member. You even if they're in need, you take them on, and that's what they did. They risked their lives, they risked their families' lives to help the Jewish people, during that time. And the history of that is just starting to be told.
When you got married, did your husband? A lot of people in the Jewish faith, their families want them to stay connected to Jewish religion. Did your husband say, please convert, or did you decide that you wanted to convert on your own?
No, it was totally my decision. When we were dating, he did, say, marrying a Jewish woman is very important to me. And I was always open to conversion. I always felt a connection to Judaism. And so it wasn't a problem for me. I said, I'm more than willing to convert. I love, everything about Judaism. And I actually started the conversion process before we got married, before we were even engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you a member of any synagogues?
Well, not necessarily, but we do. We are a member of the Chabad.
Right.
Of Bronxville. Now they're considered Bronxville, Eastchester, Tuckahoe. They moved their location. And we have a strong connection with the community there.
Yeah, I know the Chabad is very, very active in the community and very welcome. Your website has a photo of your daughter.
Yes.
And wearing Albanian outfits. Do you feel that she's going to have the same commitment to the Albanian heritage as you do when she grows up?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, she understands everything. She understands the language very, very well. She does speak it, but she will respond to me in English oftentimes. I think she just feels more comfortable. But yeah, she has a very strong connection to the Albanian community, to the language, to the traditions. She can distinguish between the Albanian language and English language. So if my husband says something in Albanian, and she'll correct him you're not supposed to say like that, So she really gets it. She has a good grasp on the language.
That is great. And one of the goals of your business is not to just teach the Albanian language, but to enrich a child's upbringing. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. I feel like it definitely brings a sense of worldliness, if that makes sense. You understand the world a little bit differently when you are connected to another culture. So yeah, that's definitely one of my goals.
Your parents must be very proud of you. So
yeah, thank you.
And where do they live?
They live in Yonkers.
Yonkers also has a large Albanian population.
Yes.
Are they active and very active?
They're very active. Yes, everyone knows my dad.
That's great. So he could have been mayor of Yonkers,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
That is great. What are some of your upcoming goals?
Some of my upcoming goals, just create more products. And like I mentioned earlier, I would love to start some kind of programming for children, whether it be a music class for babies and toddlers, or some other activities. But right now, just focusing on creating more engaging products.
That's great. So I just want to remind our audience that my guest is Shelly Ulaj Presser, and she is the founder and owner of Albana Books and Toys, www.albanabooksandtoys.com, ALBANABOOKSANDTOYS.com. And I'm Paul Feiner. I'm the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and we'll be back right after this short break.
WVOX. Now back to the Greenburgh Report on 1460 WVOX. Once again, here's Greenburgh Town Supervisor Paul Feiner.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner, Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and my guest is Shelly Ulaj Presser, owner and founder of Albana Books and Toys. And we were talking about her focusing more on the toys, but maybe we could talk a little bit about the books. One book you wrote is Una Jam, and could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that is translates to I am, and it's a book filled with I am statements. I actually brought it here again, not that the audience can see, but you can see for yourself. And it's a series of uplifting statements. I am brave. I am smart.
Oh, that's great.
I am confident. I am unique. And the second to last is I am Albanian. And then there is a mirror in the back that says, but most importantly, I am me. So regardless of all these things that you may be, at the end of the day, you are who you are. And my goal with that book was to help instill confidence in children. I know myself growing up, I wasn't the most confident child. I was very soft-spoken. I was shy. All these things that I look back and, a lot of it, to be honest with you, had to do with the language, with, growing up and not knowing a word of English, and that self-doubt that grew in my head. So this was my first book that I wrote. And then there are 3 others that I have. There's one, it's called 100 words, 100 Albanian English words. And it's basically just a series of, a way for children to learn, I'm sure you've seen these books of children's books where it's like apple and it's translated to the Albanian word. So all my books are written both in English and Albanian. So even if you don't know how to read Albanian, you can read the English portion. If you don't know how to read English, you can read the Albanian portion, vice versa. And another book is called Bread and Cheese, Day and Night. And that one was actually inspired by my daughter, Stella. For quite some time, she wanted to have bread and feta cheese, which is like a staple in the Albanian cuisine. There's always feta cheese on the table. And so she would always ask for bread and cheese. And so I thought to myself, it just kind of came to me where this idea of writing a book about this child who was obsessed with bread and cheese. And that's a little...
That's interesting,
Yeah.
really.
And then the last book I wrote is called Five Little Eagles, and it's a fun play off of the Five Little Monkeys nursery rhyme. And so instead of monkey, it's a two-headed Albanian eagle.
Are you planning in any other books?
I am. As I mentioned earlier, I'm working on a coloring book, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I do have some other ideas for upcoming books. I may put together a book of, Albanian phrases that you should know. So that's really open in terms of the age range that could go to. I mean, I see even adults, picking up my books and learning from them. So yeah, we'll see.
Do you do the artwork yourself, or do you have like an
I have
artist?
an illustrator. I do, have like sketches or ideas of how I want certain certain pages to look. And then she will just execute, and then there's a lot of edits happening, a lot of editing back and forth. It takes time.
When you look at a children's book, there's only like one sentence on a page or two sentences. How long does a book take to actually create? Because
It takes
tough?
time. Yeah, it definitely takes time. It depends, but surprisingly, this coloring book, which has no words, a few words, but has taken longer than a written book. I didn't realize this until you have a certain vision, and then you have someone else illustrating it. They don't necessarily see what you see, so it's a whole process. The coloring book has been taking me a few months, actually, longer than I anticipated. So it just depends, but I would say, it could take as long as 6 months, just the whole process.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
And the book Ulaj, one of the goals is, like you said, just to build confidence, even if the kids don't understand what the words really mean.
Yeah. They don't necessarily need to understand it. Just hearing the words is enough at that point. And I think the illustrations really help. Which with I Am Brave, for example, I have the illustration of a mom and a dad in the background cheering on their kid who just started riding a bike. So things like that. I feel like the illustrations try to convey what the statement is.
Do some of the people who purchased the books tell you that the book changed their child's life? And do you ever get any comments after from customers?
Yeah, I get comments whether I meet them in person or via email or via Instagram message, where oftentimes they'll say my child wants to read this book every night before bed. This is my child's favorite book, and hearing that is just like, it makes it all worth it.
So do you enjoy the book aspect of the business or the toy aspect of the business better?
I enjoy both. I don't know. I don't know if I could choose. I think both kind of serve a different purpose. But the dolls are always fun. One of my dreams is to be out and about and seeing a child with one of my dolls, like just holding the doll. That would be great to see. But yeah, they both really serve a different purpose, and I love writing the books, and seeing the photos that I get from my customers always brings me joy. So it's really hard to pick which one I prefer.
Is there any discrimination against people of the Albanian heritage here in the United States, or not really? Or are there any, examples where people in the Albanian community who live in Greenburgh or Westchester have a difficult time?
I will be honest. The media plays a huge role in how people perceive others, and I personally have witnessed this myself. Where people have seen the movie Taken, So they automatically think, oh, all Albanians are bad people. So yeah, there is that reputation that kind of, it kind of stings a little bit. But overall, I don't feel like there's much discrimination against the Albanians here. I think Westchester especially is a very welcoming community. There's so many businesses here that are owned by Albanians that I didn't even know Albanians own until I realized it after the fact. So many restaurants, like Benjamin Steakhouse is one of them right next to the church. Tutabella, Chow restaurant. I mean, there's so many businesses. I feel like Westchester has really embraced the Albanian community.
And how do you enjoy? How long have you lived in Greenburgh now?
It's been a little over a year.
Oh, so you're relatively new.
Yeah.
And what are your impressions of the town so far, and what do you think we could do better? Or what don't you like?
I don't like that there's not much walkability where I live, at least. I feel like there should be more sidewalks accessible to the pedestrians. Overall, I think there's a lot of variety in terms of businesses and, restaurants. I think there's a lot happening. I see a lot of new businesses popping up. So that's always exciting. And I don't really have many other complaints other than the walkability, I would say.
Yeah, we're actually got a grant to build a sidewalk from all throughout West Hartsdale Avenue.
Okay, yeah.
From Central Avenue to actually you'll be able to walk to the community college.
Nice.
And then we got another grant on Dobbs Ferry Road from West Hartsdale Avenue, Knollwood Road to 119. And starting next week, we're going to be building a sidewalk on Hillside Avenue where the Greenburgh Town Hall is, up to Parkway Gardens. And we got another grant. We're doing another sidewalk. There's a school, the Juniper Hill School. People are going to be able to walk there. And we've been doing like miles of sidewalks a year, but they're very expensive. But we're doing, we're doing a lot. In fact, that's one of the things I'm really, proud of. So if there's a side, we just did one on North Washington Avenue.
I live right off of that street.
Yeah. So although there's like a little section
that's not,
but so I think Greenburgh is definitely becoming more walkable.
Yes.
Any other? We only have a minute left. Any other suggestions as to what we could do to make the town better?
No, I think you guys are doing great. Maybe some potholes, but overall, I don't really have any other comments about the town.
Well, I really appreciate your being on the air, and I hope you enjoy living here. And good luck with your business, Albana Books and Toys.
Thank you.
And ALBANABOOKSANDTOYS.com. And it seems like you'll be a really great addition to the town of Greenburgh. We're glad you're here, and
Thank you.
And we hope that you have a real successful career, and that you'll have many franchises.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good. I'm Paul Feiner, the Greenburgh Town Supervisor, and speak to everybody soon. I'll be back next week. And I just want to mention again, if you have a small child, we're going to be having a diaper dash the Sunday of Labor Day at 10:30, and you could feel free to have your child who's under 2 compete. Thanks so much. I'll see everybody.